Karibu tena, you're still watching TV47 Breakfast here from TV47. We're coming to you live from our headquarters here in Nairobi. Remember, the hashtag is TV47 Breakfast on Twitter and on Facebook. Our timelines and pages are at TV47KE. The SMS line is T2047. Talk to us and tell us this morning. The conversations are going on over and over, and I'm going to read them as we proceed. Now, let us take a look at what is happening in our country. The one thing that happened latest is we had 11 members of parliament who traveled to Somalia. And the question is, did they have the permission to travel to Somalia? And that is one of the top stories. And then we have the scramble for Kenya. Raila gets free hand to woo Uhuru Backyard. Everyone is talking about Raila Odinga now getting a blank check to actually rebrand himself, and many more, including the Sonko issue. And we have different conversations towards coronavirus as well in the papers. Countrymen now think that the most important thing to do is be alert and keep the surveillance high. Do talk to us through this. I have Philip Mwangale, who is a lawyer and also governance and policy consultant, and also an analyst. Did I get it right today?
Yeah, leadership and governance.
Leadership and governance consultant. Thank you. And then I have Milton Lusheri, who is also policies and governance expert and also an analyst. I got that right.
Yeah,
thank you very much. All right. Now, 11 members of parliament to Somalia, and well, we had them speaking yesterday, and they said they do not have to answer to anyone who asks for permission. Many people are saying that maybe the question is that they come from the same ethnic orientation. That maybe that is the reason why eyebrows are being raised concerning their visit. Philip Mwangale, let me begin with you. What did you make of the Kenya-Somali interaction with the MPs?
First, I must say that the assertion that they went there to facilitate some peace talks in the interest of the security of the country is total hogwash. One, and I think this information will come out eventually, they were not invited by the president of Somalia. That is one. There is some information that I trust will come out in the coming days, that they were invited, facilitated, and hosted by NISA. NISA is the National Intelligence and Security Agency of Somalia. Now, if a public official or an ordinary citizen of any country is invited by an intelligence agency of a foreign country, that raises very important questions and very pertinent questions that need to be addressed. So they cannot claim, and I had one of them claim that they should not be asked why they went to Somalia because they have parliamentary privileges. I think they need a refresher course on why they're in parliament and on parliamentary privileges, because that does not appear anywhere within the ambit of parliamentary privileges. So one, the fact that they were invited, and there's information also that their fares, that air tickets might have been paid by NISA. That to me is it is something that cannot be understood. You cannot explain it away. If today I was invited by the CIA to the United States, and they paid my air ticket and they hosted me in some hotel somewhere, I should be arrested immediately and asked why an intelligence agency of a foreign country should facilitate me in that manner. Two, the Kenyan foreign policy is very clear on who is tasked with bilateral relations of the country. And when you look at the institutional framework of our Kenyan foreign policy, it tasks institutions with working towards multilateral and bilateral relations. And Parliament is one of those institutions. And an individual member of Parliament cannot go on a solo mission outside the country without the Ministry of Foreign Affairs being aware, without the executive branch being aware, without the institution of Parliament itself being aware. And I must state that Parliament in that implementation framework of the Kenyan foreign policy is not tasked with peace missions. The work of Parliament in that arena is to inquire and to make sure that they are asking for policy to be implemented.
All right.
So this was a solo mission. It was I can call it their rogue Robin Hood. Robin Hoods.
There's a Robin Hood-ness in the whole thing.
Yeah.
Mwangale mentioned something very sensitive, that they may have been invited by an intelligence agency, and it is also very clear that parliamentarians are under oath not to engage in any sort of what you'd call espionage in another country. If this would be the case, factually, what does it mean from where you sit? What does it look like?
This, for an ordinary Kenyan, they may not understand the gravity of this kind of a situation that has occurred, because number one, they face very serious allegations, not allegations, but they face very serious outcomes, because number one, there's an issue of a treason, because they can face a treason or they can face espionage. And that is not something that you want to do as a member of parliament. I think the first thing, what they have forgotten, they've forgotten the role of a member of parliament, which is one, to legislate, two, to represent, and three, to oversight. To oversight on the budget that they have been given for their particular constituency. To legislate, to form laws in parliament that basically is for the national good. And then number three is to represent their people and the issue of the people to the national government. It is not to an outsider government. So that, number one, is an abrogation of duty. And then secondly, as Mwangale had said, the prerogative of peace and security missions lies with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and even the Ministry of Interior and Coordination. That falls squarely under them. No member of parliament has been given that kind of mandate unless they fall under the what is it called? The Committee on Security. Yeah.
Right.
So basically, they are facing very serious charges. And if our country was actually a working democracy or a functional democracy, these people would have not left the airport.
All right.
Because they were apprehended. And the next place were to be remanded.
All right.
Because they have gone on a mission that is highly suspect.
Philip Mwangale calls it a rogue mission. Yes.
Yeah, just to mention this, and I think Kenyans need to understand, as Milton has said, the gravity of what they did. If at all it is true, and I want to set this, that amongst the institutions that are working in this country, one of those institutions is the very patriotic Kenyans who work out of Nyati House, Githunguri, and other places. These people are very professional. And if they come out and say that there is intelligence that this and this has been happening, I tend to believe them because they have not disappointed. There are people who are very keen on their work and they have delivered in the past. What I want to state is this. If at all these members of parliament were invited by NISA in Somalia, then we should be very worried. Because there have been reports in the past few years that NISA itself has been infiltrated by the Al-Mujahideen group, which is basically Al-Shabaab. So if that intelligence agency is facing infiltration from Al-Shabaab, and it is the same agency that has invited public servants from this country, who come from a region that is also facing insecurity, which insecurity has stemmed from Al-Shabaab, then we should be very worried as a country. Right. And there was a time, Adan Duale, after the Garissa attack, came out and said if something is not done, then in a few days he was to name people who were involved or who had knowledge of that attack. I am now believing that he really had information going by these occurrences. And we should now call on him and other Kenyans from that region to come out in the open and tell us who are these people who are sympathizers to enemies of peace, to enemies of the East African region, and enemies of this country.
All right. Do talk to us and tell us. The question is, what were the 11 members of parliament going to do in Somalia? And do you believe that the whole issue needs to be looked into with another eye, or a deeper eye? Philip Mwangale is talking about the invitation coming from an intelligence agency. Do they have a right to go there individually? Wale wabunge ambao walienda kule Somalia, ni jambo la kuangaliwa tena na jicho la undani. Walienda kufanya nini? Kwa sababu wao wenyewe hawakuchukua ruhusa ama hawakuambia mtu yeyote. Zungumza nasi, nambari ya SMS ni 22047 and online it's at TV47K on Twitter and on Facebook. Ama upige simu moja kwa moja tuambie wewe maoni yako ni yepi kuhusu haya. Milton, it is customary for members of parliament who are traveling to other countries, and especially when they're going in groups like this, to actually alert the Speaker of the Senate or Speaker of the National Assembly. What Philip Mwangale is saying is simply putting out that the whole mission was kind of shrouded in some secrecy. Do you believe that therefore there should be ground for some sort of charging them?
Yeah.
I mean, does that, because the question right now is whether there is felony, whether there was any crime.
I think there's grounds.
Yeah.
There's grounds for charging them because the standing orders in Parliament, number one, says that if a member of Parliament is supposed to travel, even if you're one, you have to, because you are representing your constituents, and therefore your absence from Parliament affects the people that you represent. So you have to give a notice to the member, to the Speaker. You tell him, I'll travel for 5 days and I'm going to Canada and I'm on a business trip. I'll be back on Thursday of 17th. That notice has to be filed with the Speaker. If that is not done, then you have violated standing orders in Parliament. So in this case, what we are going to see is that the Powers and Privileges Committee will have to interrogate this matter and prepare a detailed report, because there are 11 MPs who have violated the privileges accorded to them. Therefore, they have to prepare a report which they will table to the House. And once they table to the House, then the House will vote on it, whether some disciplinary actions need to be taken to them, which also includes taking them to court and charging them for treason and felony. So this is very grievous matter.
All right.
Yeah.
Philip Mwangale, I know, now looking at it legally, again from the same angle, they claim that they have not broken any law, and that the only thing that happened right now, the only issue that's here is that the whole mission was a secret. And knowing that there's dispute between Kenya and Somalia, is it true that with the secrecy that surrounded this mission, there's still no ground for charging them, except maybe just investigations to happen and all that?
I've said before that there have been intelligence reports, even before these guys came back from Somalia, that they had been invited by the National Intelligence and Security Agency of Somalia. So that, in the first instance, raises culpability, criminal
is it,
culpability.
sorry to cut you short, is it a coincidence that they come from the same ethnic orientation as the Somalians, and that they were particularly the ones that were invited? Are we being overly dramatic with that?
No. I think in the coming days, when now momentum has picked up on action that should be taken against them, we will now start seeing people from that region trivializing the matter and saying they're being targeted because they are from that region. But it will not have been a different scenario if it was a Luya or Kikuyu who was it was a Luya or Kikuyu who was in that region who had been invited by the intelligence agency of Somalia. So it is not about their ethnic background. It is not because they are Somalis. It is not because they come from that region. It is because they chose to act in the manner that they did. And I was mentioning that the first thing that raises criminal culpability on their side is because they were engaging with an intelligence agency, and you mentioned that they could have been engaging in espionage, and that according to our laws, if you're engaging in espionage, that jeopardizes the security of this nation, and it is clear that what they did, what they are alleged to have done, jeopardizes the security of the nation. Number two, Milton has mentioned about the powers and privileges. Section 16 of the Powers and Privileges Act mandates Parliament to conduct an inquiry, and they are in breach of the powers and privileges, in my opinion, even before that inquiry is conducted.
Opinion, legal opinion?
Yes, they are in breach of the powers and privileges, as Milton has mentioned, accorded to them by Parliament and by the people of this country. And so after that, even during the pendency of that inquiry in Parliament, the Director of Public Prosecutions can institute criminal proceedings against them. So even as we wait for Parliament to take that step, and maybe given the history of our Parliament, maybe that might not be done in the coming few days. So I would urge the Director of Public Prosecutions to take action and institute criminal proceedings against these members of Parliament.
All right, as we close on this.
Yeah, just to add on that is that Somalia is becoming a persona non grata, a neighbor that is ungrateful, because you will understand that in 2000 and I think it was in 2005, when they were going through elections and things like that, the Somalia government took refuge to Kenya. Like operations in Somalia were being run in Kenya, and after some time, when the country had the semblance of stability, they had to go back and continue managing the country. So basically, the country, Kenya, has played host to its government and has helped in a big place to stabilize the region of Somalia, and also has sent KDF in order to stamp out Al-Shabaab and those kind of people. So after you've done all this, now there are other issues that happen. Now there's the issue of the oil. Yes. There's that oil that is being contested.
They were accused of being offensive, they were accused of being helpful, yes, but being offensive, especially on matters of the oil and the boundaries.
Exactly. So, for that matter, the determination is coming in June, this coming June. And therefore, in my opinion, I think they have anticipated what the UN Security Council will rule on that. And therefore, maybe they are trying to align themselves towards that kind of pronouncement that will be made. That's the first thing. And then the other thing is that, the timing of this meeting comes when US has issued an advisory that they are pending attacks in major hotels in Kenya. And therefore, the whole thing is happening at a time that is very precarious between the two countries. And this actually jeopardizes further the relationships that has been there.
All right. I know the question that many will ask is, you say they are being ungrateful, but is it true that we're also being offensive as much as we have helped as a country? Because they do have the sovereignty as well. Hata kama umesaidia mtu, si eti sasa uanze tu kwa mchokozi. But anyway, can we hang this?
I can just mention so that we end on that matter. I was talking to Milton before we came on air. I was telling him we have handled this Somalia issue without wisdom, because after we helped Somalia regain stability, including hosting them, and we basically facilitated their government when the government was running out of a hotel here in Nairobi. After that, and after we made our incursion into Somalia during Kibaki's time, we have acted out of lack of wisdom for these past years. In my opinion, I think we should have moved out of Somalia and allowed AMISOM to carry out that process as a unit, as an African unit, and we should have concentrated on manning our borders. And the fact that we are now in conflict over the maritime boundary, which has also been handled it has been handled in a pedestrian manner, if you ask me. So we have not acted wisely with regard to Somalia.
All right.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. That awaits further revelation, but then there's something else that happened. Najua kwamba umesikia hili na labda lilikutatiza kwamba the gentleman who actually filmed what do you call it, the airline or the plane that brought Chinese into the southern airline that brought Chinese into the country, Mr. Gire, was suspended. And now Kenya Airports Authority that actually took up the matter together with the KQ defended the suspension of the worker. They said that he actually went against the law. But Kenyans have said the gentleman actually saved us, that had we not known or seen that film or seen that mobile short video, we wouldn't have known that we are at such a high level of risk concerning coronavirus. What do you think? Yule ambaye alitupa ile kanda ya simu kwamba Wachina walikuwa wanaletwa hapa when the plane had landed, sasa amewachishwa kazi. Call in, the line is right there on your screen. Alikuwa achishwe kazi kwa sababu alikeuka sheria ama labda aachiliwe kwa sababu alisaidia wa Kenya. Legally, Milton, it is said that what he did was wrong. He went against the law, but his lawyer says that that was an act of heroism. How do you see it from where you sit?
Yeah, from my side, the one who suspended him must be suspended. From my side, I'm just giving an opinion because this person has actually, he brought to light what basically was happening in secret.
But most it was people, wrong. It was wrong to actually film. That actually goes against the security. I mean, can you imagine if the world got to know that in Kenya, anyone can actually film you landing and share with the whole world? Wouldn't that put us in a precarious position as well?
You see, we live in an information age. That is a reality that needs to be acknowledged. And even our laws need to be aligned with the information age that we live in. Because there are many people who take pictures at the airport, including myself. If I go to the airport, I'll take a picture. And I can share it on the social media and all that. I don't think that should be a problem. I think the only problem that is there is that this person was a worker. And probably he had signed some non-disclosure agreements, or he had signed some work contracts that forbids him to take pictures at the airport. But if it were any other person, for example, Mwangale has traveled and he has just taken, hey, I'm at the airport, look at me. You know, that wouldn't bring any problem. So I think, number one, the law is behind the age. The law needs to catch up with the information age. It needs to provide very clear guidelines on we cannot leave this we cannot leave information out of the whole picture of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, in my own opinion, that guy needs to be reinstated. His job needs to be given back because he has actually saved so many lives.
All right.
Yeah.
Philip, from a legal point of view, was there a heavy legal foundation for his suspension? Because that video was taken at the clearance stage, actually, before the plane actually, people got out of the plane. And again, wouldn't the information finally have got out even if this gentleman hadn't taken this clip?
Well, you know, there are always exceptions to every general rule. And one of the general rules, or one of the regulations that has been set by ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Organization, on security in airports and such places is what the airport is claiming, that he was not supposed to have filmed. He was not supposed to have filmed whatever was going on the air side. There's the land side and there's the air side. You can take photos freely on the land side, but once you get to the air side, there are some restrictions. But the exception is this: that if you're facing the circumstances that we are facing right now, I mean, such information is very important. You can imagine if a plane landed and people were offloading say nuclear bombs and guns from the airplane. will that have called for the same action from the airport?
Would we be able to equate this to that?
Yes, and this is the thing that we are facing. This is a global pandemic, and Kenya is under threat. And the fact that the government is taking this trivially calls for ordinary Kenyans to step up on behalf of their fellow Kenyans. And I salute this gentleman, because we will not have otherwise known. Yes, the information might have come out, but we will not have believed it. The airport will have come out and said, the plane, people run stories, and they will have mixed things up, and they will have weaved up a story, and they will have said, as Milton is saying, the plane was on transit, and this was just a layover, and there were two Kenyans who disembarked from the plane. That could have been weaved up.
So does he have a chance in court?
He definitely has a chance in court. Yes. I'm waiting for to see what arguments his lawyer will raise up in court, but I do not think that the suspension was warranted. The real reason for his suspension was because he embarrassed the Kenyan government and the airport.
And actually, that's the question right now. When I'm asking, does he stand a chance in court, is because most people are now claiming that he's actually right now fighting against the state, because the person who feels offended is actually the state. And there was an uproar in that line.
If you remember, it is only after that video came out that the president had a knee-jerk reaction and issued an executive order. He set up a task force on the coronavirus code. I mean, it is clear what is happening.
Okay. So does he stand a chance now that it looks like he's fighting against it? If you think that he's fighting against the state, and those who are trying to look at it objectively are trying to look at it from another angle, that we need to have an airspace and landing space that is secure enough that even in situations where we have guests who want to come in unknown, we just come in subtly and leave, feel like they're safe, and that can be guaranteed. And in this case, when this can happen, then therefore that safety cannot be guaranteed, and it might actually interfere with the business and maybe our economy and all that. These are two angles of looking at it. Which one is yours?
First of all, I think the state has a very hard case to prove against the gentleman, because number one, they are facing an issue of violation. Someone has violated airspace provisions in the airport. That will be very how do I put it? That will be very hard for them to prove. And then the other thing is that you see, this person has saved the country by
he's a hero
by big standards. Much as he might have violated the laid down.
Do we really call it saving? Because I know that Philip said in situations where like a nuclear bomb is landing, but these were people, human beings, and it wasn't proven whether they were sick or not. I mean, can we still call it saving?
Yeah, we call it saving because at that river, a day after, it was confirmed that there's someone who has signs of coronavirus.
Signs again.
Signs. Yes. And 6 hours after that, there's an ambulance that rushes to pick him because the condition has been aggravated.
Right. Again, those are still speculations. Nobody has really verified whether that was the disease. Can we still say that was saving? Those are just people.
Yes. You see, other governments, what other governments have done, like for example, the US has given very clear instructions that number one, we suspend all planes in and out of China. At least for the time being. And then if there are any people who have traveled from corona-prone areas, they must be put to mandated quarantine. So that they are there for a specific period, about 14 days, just to give the what is it called, the gestation period for the virus to reveal itself. But in Kenya, what we did, we say that they are going to have a self-quarantine. I try to understand that word self-quarantine. What does it mean in the context of handling an emergency? Self-quarantine means you are alone. Just take care of yourself, wherever you are. And the state gives you that, it trusts that you will take care of yourself. You will not leave your house. You will not go to the shop to buy whatever essentials you want because you are disciplined enough.
You're such a trusting nation.
Yeah, you're such a trusting. That is abrogating your duty as a state. And therefore, I think the gentleman did well. If it were not for him, we wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
And Corazon,
Yes.
it's a balance. You have to weigh the good versus the bad. I mean, if he took, he recorded something on the air side which went against regulations, what is the upside of what he did? And the upside was that he acted in national interest. And I'll go back to the Constitution. If the government is not acting in the best interest of the country, then it is upon a Kenyan of good intention to take up and fill the gaps that the government is not filling. So the government was not being forthright with Kenyans, and there was a Kenyan who decided that he was going to give information out to the public, and in doing that he violated some regulation. Should we punish him? Should he be punished for violating a regulation? That is, it is actually important. But should he be punished for violating that regulation, yet he did that in the best interest of the country?
In the best, all right, we're going to see.
And I think that is why we need to also amend that clause or that law that talks about air safety. There has to be introduction of other clauses to that law unless it is for the.
But even if it was to be amended, even if it would be amended, Milton, for this particular case, would it then mean that if you feel like a plane is carrying people that you don't think are safe, then you can simply just alert the nation? I mean, wouldn't that be too much, too many leeways? All right, as you take on that, Kalonzo Musyoka claimed in Meru the other day that no African has died of this disease. So it was translated as if he was affirming that we as Kenyans maybe are not vulnerable, and we have seen what is happening. Chinese are getting into the country, and there's also the claims that, well, we can get it from any other country because right now we have Italy, 808 cases, France, 57 cases, even in the US. Are we handling this correctly with all these sentiments thrown left, right?
There's a currency that's going around that this is bioterror targeted against a specific genome or a specific kind of race. That is conspiracy theory. It's not proven. And I think, in my own imagination, Kalonzo was buying into this kind of argument that it is targeted against a particular race. But if you look at it keenly, it is not targeted. Anyone can contract it. The World Health Organization has not come out and given a report and saying that Africans, you cannot get this virus because of your maybe genetic makeup and all that. World Health Organization has not said that. And for Kalonzo to have said that, I think that was a bit a careless statement to make. Because in Nigeria, right now, we are told one African has already passed on account of that. So what he says was, I think it was a bit careless.
Somebody actually says that the person who died in Nigeria was of Italian origin.
Yes. Basically, it's the Italian person who came in and contracted the disease.
So we're yet to see any black person dying of it. We can actually leave it at that. Philip is actually shaking his head. Philip is shaking his head. Philip, are we handling this correctly? And what do you think about that statement, that there's yet to be an African who died of it?
If we are taking that approach, then we will die very quickly. But this is the thing I must say, that I had the press statement by Mutahi Kagwe, the new health cabinet secretary, and the task force that was formed, and he was very confident that because they have set up isolation centers in Bagathi and Kenyatta, then we are safe and the country should not worry. It is a dereliction of common sense to set up a table of 10, to prepare a table of 10 people in your house, yet you have sent out and broadcast an open invitation for a feast in your home. That beats common sense. If we are saying we have set up isolation centers within the country, yet our borders are porous, yet we are not working to limit and to control importation of the virus from without Kenya, then we are not being honest with ourselves. And I think the person who is running the UBC in parliament, in government, should have been the one who was tasked with running the CBC curriculum in our schools, because Corazon, you're laughing. UBC is Ushenzi best curriculum that I believe is being run within our government, because it beats me that people who have gone to school, people who are qualified, and they say they are qualified in the fields they are, yes, can reason this way.
Thank you very much, Philip.
It just beats me.
Thank you so much.
If we continue this way, yes, if that virus gets into this country, I'm not sure it has. Yeah. Maybe it has, and we have not seen those cases, or those cases have not been reported. But if it does, then we are in a very bad place.
All right, it's actually unfortunate that we've actually laughed about it, because when you talked about UBC and CBC, then it turns it into something really different. But do talk to us and tell us, nini unafikiria wewe kama Mkenya, ni vipi unadhani kwamba serikali imechukulia swala hili na kutilia manani vikamilifu? Do you think the government is actually taking it as seriously as possible? Phil Mwangale says you cannot prepare a table for 10 and then open your gates for a feast, meaning, as I translated, is that you've actually brought in hundreds of people, and then you say that you have isolation center that can take in tons of people, and he's actually called it importing of the virus. But then that's it, and the conversation goes on. Tell us what you think. Do you think that the government is taking the coronavirus pandemic as seriously as possible? But as we finish, because we don't have too much time left, Milton, Terere and I in the morning went over a tweet that was posted by Kipchumba Murkomen over the BBI meeting that happened in Meru, and he said that they were not intending to get out, that he saw Moses Kuria walking out and saying, Philip, stop laughing. Because Moses Kuria was his lips. He decided to follow. Moses Kuria turns out was going to pee, and then a whole people just followed, BBI has been turned into something really, really different in many people's opinion. Do you think it has been politicized, that now it is a blank check for the Prime Minister, that now it's more divisive than ever? And what do you think about what happened with Kipchumba Murkomen and Moses Kuria in Meru?
I think, yes, sometimes when we look at this, the things that happen, we just laugh, because some of it warrants a laugh. But getting serious about the matter, I think BBI has been hijacked. Let's just forget about its original intent. The original intent was good, was inclusivity, was unification, was equal distribution of resources, equitable distribution of resources. That was good. But now it has been hijacked. It has now become a political tool to gain political mileage. Now, Murkomen, of course, he made some very interesting statements during the Meru rally. Number one, he says that they do not actually, they don't have a problem with BBI itself. The problem that is there is that some people have taken it up. And of course, as he was speaking like that, Raila was just behind him. And of course, he was attacking Raila and about the BBI. So for me, I think the process has been hijacked. Kenyans don't have a hope with this document. It is being used to make noise for the ones who want to take over in 2022.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I know we're coming to the very end. So, Philip, before I get your final sentiments, Governor Jackson Mandago actually says, mambo ya BBI hiyo isiwasumbue akili. Hii BBI is not about you. It's about sisi wenye tuko kwa viti. Sisi wengine tulikuwa tumeona tunakaribia kwenda nyumbani. Coach Voice Francis Atoli has been quoted saying, where is Uhuru going and he's young? Atasumbua watu wengine. We must amend the constitution to accommodate him somewhere. I know you have been against this report from the beginning, largely, Philip Mwangale, because you did not believe that it had the element that can reconcile the country. What do you think about it as it is right now?
My thoughts remain the same. As a country, we have gotten to a point where we're in a space that I can term as a space that glorifies predatory politics and personalization of power. And that is the basic intent of what the BBI has become. As Milton has indicated, when the BBI was being sold out to Kenyans during the first period that is now being called BBI 1, there was a sense of unity being pushed by the BBI, but right now it has been taken over by the rot that is our political system. And I think Mandago is being very honest that this is about the political elite. It is about them jostling for power. And I think the Standard's headline there is it's very true that this is a scramble for Kenya, and it is a scramble for resources at the top. I had Governor Waiguru mentioned that, and she was very confident. And when somebody is exuding such confidence, you might actually think that they have given some thought to what they're saying. And she was saying that BBI is about reducing the positions at the bottom and increasing them at the top. Basically saying that they will be advancing their own political grid at the top, which is against our aspirations as a country. So BBI is a scam. It should be treated as such, and I am happy that Kenyans are moving in that direction, going by the reception that the rallies are receiving elsewhere. And Murkomen spoke very honestly in that rally, and I think it was wise. In as much as you're saying he risked walking from Meru to wherever he was going because he had been given a lift. I think it would have been wise in any case for them to leave after speaking as they did, because the people who came after them were rubbishing everything that they had said, and they were attacking them basically.
All right, thank you very much. It is unbelievable that we've had a whooping almost 40 minutes on this. Thank you so much, Philip Mwangale. Thank you very much, Milton Lushiri. I know we'll have time to discuss every other thing. Now, I can see Papa Adesh anasema Salimia Corazon Mombasa is locked. Naona nyote hapa kwenye mtandao. Remember, the hashtag is TV47 breakfast. Naona Alan Kip Tanui anasema hapo nakubaliana nanyi kwa 100%. Sijui ni kipi ambacho umekubaliana nacho, lakini shukrani sana kwa kusalia nasi. Naona Vonis Umbiro on Koba na kuona pale umezungumza kuhusu mambo ya valuation. Unasema valuation addition is not a problem. I have interacted with several youth with mind-blowing ideas in value addition, some doing so good in turning tomatoes into tomato sauce and paste. The problem comes in acquiring standardization and relevant licenses. So many hurdles. KBS only needs about 5,000 per annum for certification, but the requirements, some do not even make sense, like having to purchase a hygiene standard book. A government pursuit of selling information is just pure extortion. Thank you very much for tuning in. I know that there's still there's a lot of feedback. Philip Mwangale naona kuna wengine wanakucharaza hapa, lakini tunarejea. Imeno tena nakuja kusoma moja kwa moja. Kumbuka kwamba hashtag is TV47 breakfast 22047 is the SMS line. Sasa utaki kuondoka hapa because we have gumzo mitandaoni or what's trending. And Imano today is coming here with the whole team. Pamoja na Gadambo mwenyewe. Hapa pana ucheshi na pana burudani. Usibanduke.